shrink and their life savings disappear. A particularly urgent priority is a further extension of unemployment insurance benefits for workers who cannot find work in the increasingly weak economy. A fiscal stimulus plan that will jumpstart economic growth is long overdue. I've talked about it throughout the last few months of the campaign. We should get it done. Second, we have to address the spreading impact of the financial crisis on the other sectors of our economy. Small businesses that are struggling to meet their payrolls and finance their holiday inventories, and state and municipal governments facing devastating budget cuts and tax increases. We must also remember that the financial crisis is increasingly global and requires a global response. The news coming out of the auto industry this week reminds us of the hardship it faces. Hardship that goes far beyond individual auto companies, with countless suppliers, small businesses, and communities throughout our nation who depend on a vibrant American auto industry. The auto industry is the backbone of American manufacturing and a critical part of our attempt to reduce our dependence on foreign oil. I would like to see the administration do everything it can to accelerate the retooling assistance that Congress has already enacted. In addition, I've made it a high priority for my transition team to work on additional policy options to help the auto industry adjust, weather the financial crisis, and succeed in producing fuel-efficient cars here in the United States of America. And I was glad to be joined today by Governor Jennifer Granholm, who obviously has great knowledge and great interest on this issue. I've asked my team to explore what we can do under current law and whether additional legislation will be needed for this purpose. Third, we will review the implementation of this administration's financial program to ensure that the government's efforts are achieving their central goal of stabilizing financial markets while protecting taxpayers, helping homeowners, and not unduly rewarding the management of financial firms that are receiving government assistance. It is absolutely critical that the Treasury work closely with the FDIC, HUD, and other government agencies to use the substantial authority that they already have to help families avoid foreclosure and stay in their homes. Finally, as we monitor and address these immediate economic challenges, we will be moving forward in laying out a set of policies that will grow our middle class and strengthen our economy in the long term.
President-elect Obama also took a wide range of questions from reporters, including one from CNN senior political correspondent Candy Crowley. We're going to show you that news conference. It's in its entirety in our 6 o'clock Eastern hour. For more on what the president-elect said, we're joined by Democratic strategist Jamal Simmons and CNN contributor and Republican strategist Ed Rollins. Nice to see both of you. Ed, I'm going to start with you.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Rate for me this first press conference from the president-elect.
Well, my impression was, other than being a few minutes late, which kind of reminded us of Bill Clinton, and other than the fact that he wasn't my party, he had great presence, and it didn't bother me seeing him up there answering questions and being president. I also was very impressed by the cast of characters he had behind him, one of whom I assume will be his Treasury Secretary, some others will be his economic advisors. It was kind of an all-star cast from the other side, and so I sort of felt very comfortable watching it.
He was very presidential even when he was uttering the words, "I am not the president yet." Ironically enough, Jamal, what did you think of the press conference?
Well, it's clear, there's one president at a time. I think President-elect Obama is trying to be very mindful of that. He did have a very good group of people up there. Ed just talked about the cast of characters. There were, in fact, a couple of Republicans there, people like Richard Parsons from Time Warner. But there are also people there like Jennifer Granholm, the governor of Michigan, David Bonner, Robert Rubin. This is a good, wide-ranging group of people there to advise him. I think that's the way he led the campaign, and that's the way I think he'll try to lead the government.
CNN's Gary Tuchman is joining us. He's got a look at a conversation with Sarah Palin. We're going to get to that in just a few moments, if we can. I want to ask you a question about a lot of the things that Barack Obama was talking. Well, let's get to Gary right now, in fact. Gary, you interviewed Sarah Palin, the vice presidential nominee for the Republican Party. What did she talk about?
Well, Sarah Palin, so that just came back to her office for the first time since the end of the campaign, greeted by the workers in the office, and we were there when she arrived, so we got a chance to talk to her for about 15 minutes, basically very upset about this anonymous criticism. First thing she said to us was, you know, it's up to you news media folks to let us know who's saying these things, even if they're true, and when we assured her they're being said, that the people are saying them and they want to remain anonymous. Based on that, she said it's very unfair, taken out of context, it's mean. She says during debate preparation, she talked about NAFTA. They talked about the continent of Africa, and someone's twisting her words to making it sound like she didn't know that Africa was a continent and what nations were part of NAFTA. She says it's totally wrong, very angry. She says she talked to John McCain just today on the telephone a couple of hours ago. They're very sympathetic. He's not happy about this either. And Sarah Palin says she still loves John McCain. She also said there's a lot of sexism that she never noticed before when she's been governor of Alaska. She says that women are very self-sufficient here, that sexism hasn't noticed very much, and that's been a big surprise in this campaign. She says no one ever talks about Barack Obama's makeup or Barack Obama's clothes, and she says she feels she was a victim of sexism. And finally, she said, you know, she really is unhappy with the mass media. And I said to her very frankly, I said, yeah, I think it's an unfair accusation. I said, most of what I see and read, and I'm a member of the news media, it seems very fair to me. There may be some exceptions, and then she agreed with me. She said, you're right, but there are some stinky apples, and when you have stinky apples, they smell up the whole basket of apples.
Gary Tuchman, who did an interview with Sarah Palin. We're going to get a chance to see that interview a little bit later. Gary, thank you very much. Let's bring it back to Ed Rollins and Jamal Simmons. Okay, so you're hearing there some of the hostility within the party directed towards Sarah Palin, clearly. Ed, let me ask you a question from the Republican perspective. What do the Republicans, what does Barack Obama have to do to get the Republicans on board to move forward with some of this long list that he ticked off during his press conference? The rescue plan for the middle class, the financial crisis, the global response, the auto industry, energy, tax relief, healthcare. I mean, the list goes on, and each one of those items is a big-ticket item.
Well, first of all, he can move forward without Republicans. I mean, Republicans are in a position where we're sort of on the outside rim, and I think the key thing for him is if he communicates with us and he basically brings us into the process, and obviously it's at his direction, and he gets some consensus, he benefits long-term and the American public benefits. He wants to end partisanship, and obviously I take him at his word. But I think the best way to do that is to use those extraordinary communicative skills that he has. Sit down, talk to Democrats' leadership, talk to Republican leadership, talk to Republican members. He's been a senator. He knows the senators. He can bring them into his confidence. He can ask for help. John McCain can play a very critical role. John's traditionally gone across the aisle, and I think that if we can get he's got some very tough problems ahead, and if he gets some help from Republicans, it'll make it just that much better.
Jamal, I'm going to get to you in 1 second, but I want to ask Ed one more question. You heard a moment ago what Sarah Palin was responding to in some of the criticism. Do you think she's going to play a critical role? What do you make of what you heard Gary say?
First of all, everything that they've done to her has been outrageous. These second-tier staff people who don't have the courage to stand up and say what they really believe, they're irrelevant. They lost this campaign. They're gone. She's the governor of Alaska. She is still very important to this party. 70% of Republicans in the Rasmussen poll yesterday said that they thought she really helped the ticket. 70% is a very large number. And my sense is John McCain's career as a presidential candidate is over. These guys' staff careers are over. She's a governor. She's a future player in our party, and we need her.
Jamal, weigh in on that for me.
Well, I always thought that after our nomination fight, or the presidential fight was over, the toughest fight Sarah Palin would have would be with the Republicans, many of whom may be working or inclined to work for one of the other people that want to run for president in 2012. She thought Democrats were tough. Wait till the Republicans get a hold of her. You know, she said a couple of things that I just want to kind of point out. She said the people didn't focus on Barack Obama's clothes. They did earlier. Remember, he was going around without ties on, and everyone said he looked like someone else because he was wearing the dark suit with no tie. So a lot of these things just go back and forth inside campaigns.
Jamal Simmons and Ed Rollins for us this afternoon. Gentlemen, I thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you. Likewise. President-elect Obama promises to turn the page on Cuba, but will his plan for a new strategy find favor or overwhelming opposition from thousands of Cuban Americans who are living in the U.S.? And Obama's first news conference since winning the election. We're going to replay the entire session for you coming up. You're in the Situation Room.